Lisa Booth is a senior fellow at the Independent Women's Voice, and she joins us now. Lisa, Joe Biden is really the anti-Trump here. The solution is fewer, shorter rallies. If we could just keep him in a cupboard until Election Day, he'll cruise to victory.
Well, and apparently, according to reporting, he makes more mistakes later in the day. So the thinking is that if they curtail his schedule, perhaps he'll make less gaffes. And just to give people at home a reminder of what they've been saying and why Biden aides are feeling this way, take a listen to this. All right, we don't have the sound. Do we have
choose science over fiction. We choose truth over facts.
Right, so that puts it into context a little bit, Mark. The fact that he made these repeated gaffes last week in Iowa, which is a critical state, the first contest, the Iowa caucus. So it's really not a state that you want to be making these gaffes. And I think the problem for Biden with these gaffes it's really twofold. One, it's the age issue. He's going to be 77 in November. There's a concern among Democrats that he might just be a little bit too old. And then the second is the electability, because part of the reason why he's the front runner is this perceived notion that he's the most electable candidate against President Trump. And so I think the more mistakes he makes, it erodes that confidence that he's the strongest candidate to take on Trump.
Yeah, and they always like to go for these characters who are supposedly electable and then turn out to be not quite as electable as they thought. That was the rationale with John Kerry. Right. And you're right, Lisa, that, it's not an age thing because the president is within a couple of years of him. And you never see Biden just feeding off a crowd the way the president does night after night.
No, and I want to show you, too, there's this quote from David Axelrod that I think summarizes it as well, if we can put that up for the viewers at home. And so basically he says this is bad advice. He goes on to say he either can cut it or he can't. And the only way he can prove he can is to be an active and vigorous candidate. He's running for president of the United States, for God's sake. And Joe Biden had recently, not too long ago, had floated the idea of a Stacey Abrams potentially as a VP nominee, or at least Biden's allies did. And now she's saying potentially she'd be open to being the VP nomination. Oh. Listen to what she said in an interview.
If any of the nominees offered me the opportunity to run with them as their vice president after they have been selected as a nominee, of course I'd be honored to consider that.
That's very sporting of her, Lisa. We're gonna come back to you,
okay,
but
sure.
As we said, the president is on a roll here, and we don't want to miss it. Here he is.